Hello, everyone, and welcome to this important episode of Ignition Time. You're going to learn about the hidden driver. Yes, I said the hidden driver of unusually high unemployment rates, despite the fact that the economy is reopening and despite the fact that states all over the country are starting to reopen and reinstitute their work search requirements. I'll explain to you why individuals are scared. Yes, I said scared about going back to their jobs as the economy is at an inflection point. Yes, the economy is at a turning point where things could get better or things could go the other way if we see a surge in the pandemic. In fact, the World Health Organization just reported that the pandemic could actually get much worse. Here's a headline of a new article. I have to warn you, this is a disturbing headline. A new article from Fortune magazine. The pandemic is growing exponentially according to the World Health Organization. Here's a quote, and again, I want to warn you that this could be disturbing. Here's a quote from Maria von Kerkhove, who's the World Health Organization's technical lead for the pandemic. We are in a critical point of the pandemic right now. This is not the situation we want to be in 16 months into a pandemic where we have proven control measures. It is a time right now where everyone has to take stock and have a reality check about what we need to be doing. In fact, these comments were echoed by the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell in an interview with 60 Minutes. I'll show you an important segment from this interview, but here's what the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said. He said, we're at a place where the economy is about to start growing much more quickly and job creation is coming in much more quickly. The principal risk to our economy right now is that the pandemic could spread again. In a series of important comments which we have organized for you, let's take a look at what the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said about the pandemic and the future of the American economy. Let's roll the tape.
What we're seeing now is really an economy that seems to be at an inflection point, and that's because of widespread vaccination and strong fiscal support, strong monetary policy support. We feel like we're at a place where the economy is about to start growing much more quickly and job creation coming in much more quickly. So the principal risk to our economy right now really is that the disease would spread again. It's going to be smart if people can continue to socially distance and wear masks. Well, I'd say that we and a lot of private sector forecasters see strong growth and strong job creation starting right now. So really the outlook has brightened substantially. If you look at what private sector forecasters are saying, or what forecasters who sit around this table who are on the Federal Open Market Committee, our rate setting committee, what they're forecasting is growth for this year in the range of 6 or 7%, which would be the highest level in 30 years, or even maybe a little bit higher. And for forecasting unemployment to move down substantially from 6% where it is now, maybe to between 4 and 5%. Well, I would say that this growth that we're expecting in the second half of this year is going to be very strong.
So clearly we are at an inflection point. Not my words, the words of the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. This got me thinking. Number one, we are opening, but number two, long-term unemployment is still high. We have 4 million of our fellow Americans, approximately 40% of those who are currently unemployed, essentially have been unemployed for 6 months or longer. Long-term unemployment is on the rise. As I did some research, I came across this brand new article that you see on your screen from the Wall Street Journal. The other reason the labor force has shrunken, the fear of the pandemic. Around 4 million individuals are not looking for jobs, not because there are no jobs, but because of worries about catching the virus and essentially becoming another statistic in the pandemic. Here's some really shocking data from the Wall Street Journal article. A year after the pandemic burst onto the US economy, 8.4 million fewer Americans hold jobs. There are many reasons, but one of the most important and least appreciated is the one that keeps individuals at home. A US Census survey conducted in the second half of March found that about 4.2 million adults, 4.2 million of our fellow Americans are not working because they are afraid of getting or spreading this pandemic. In fact, let's take a look at this chart, which represents the fear factor. Anxiety about this pandemic has sidelined millions of our fellow Americans since the start of the pandemic. Let's take a look at this chart, which starts all the way back in June of last year when we were pretty much in the middle of the pandemic, all the way through where we are right now. This shows the number of adults in our country who have not worked in the past week because of worries about getting or spreading the pandemic. This is data. This is essentially data over several months, and this is pretty incredible, folks. This is data from the US Census Bureau. In fact, individuals have dropped out of the workforce. In other words, individuals are not even looking for jobs in large part because of the fear associated with the pandemic. Here's another chart on your screen. This chart essentially shows the lost ground. Less people looking for jobs is a bad thing for the US economy because these individuals are not being productive. There could be a deterioration in their skills. There could be other problems associated with not working and not being or not feeling like a productive member of society. This actually puts pressure on the families themselves. Here's another chart on your screen that shows you the lost ground. The pandemic has pushed millions out of the workforce because the labor force participation rate, the number of individuals looking for work, has actually reduced. Women have dropped out of the workforce. Mothers, specifically single mothers, have dropped out of the workforce. Individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality, specifically Hispanic women and African American, have dropped out of the workforce because of responsibilities presumably associated with childcare and elder care in their homes. You'll see on your screen the share of US adults working or looking for work, a percentage point change. Let's start from 2005 and work our way all the way through the pandemic, and you will see that the labor force participation rate was actually declining, and then as we got closer to the start of the pandemic it was starting to increase, and then as a direct result of the pandemic it went straight down. That's a pretty large spike, folks. On the right side in the gray zone, by the way, the gray zone on the right side of your screen represents the impact of the pandemic and how the labor force participation rate declined substantially as a direct result of the pandemic. And I want our viewers and subscribers to know that this is not the only problem associated with long-term unemployment. Folks, as you know, the American Rescue Plan included assistance for healthcare premiums specifically for the unemployed. The federal government was going to do and is going to do many things, including paying for health insurance for the unemployed when the unemployed would normally be responsible for paying for their own insurance program through the COBRA program. This is one aspect of the American Rescue Plan. There are many other aspects of this plan. Here's a headline of an article on your screen from CNBC. There are some snags in free COBRA health insurance for unemployed. Here's what you need to know. So basically what CNBC is reporting is that there was a provision in the stimulus package in the American Rescue Plan. So essentially the government is going to pay for the COBRA health insurance premiums, but here's the problem: the system has not been instituted yet. Here's a direct quote from the CNBC article. Getting the new system up and running will take coordination between multiple government agencies, companies, and insurers. Meanwhile, employers don't even have to notify those who could be eligible until the end of May. In other words, this is going to take time to set up. Now, the good news, folks, is that even if you cannot sign up for a few weeks or few months because of operational delays, if you qualify for the COBRA subsidy, any eligible claims that are racked up or any eligible payments that could appear after the 1st of April and before the end of September should be covered by the federal government. So folks, we are waiting for more information on this, but this is ironic when individuals are essentially not working as a direct result of the pandemic, and the individuals who are unemployed, who are now dependent on health insurance subsidies, health insurance credits from the federal government, know that at the moment, even though the promise is that the federal government will help, it could be a couple of months or it could be at least 6 or 7 weeks before the whole thing is instituted and before everyone, including your employer, including the insurance company, is aligned. As always, you'll get a link to all of our resources, including the Wall Street Journal article, including the CNBC article, and the direct link to the interview with the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I would appreciate it if you take a second of your time to click the like button. That would help me a lot. That helps out the YouTube algorithm. I assure you that Chairman Jerome Powell, there he is. What's up, Jerome? Watches the Ignition Time channel and he clicks the like button whenever he watches. I call him Jerome because we're on a first name basis. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.